Dave Roberts just said that he's fine with Major League Baseball adding a salary cap. The manager of the most expensive roster in the sport is suddenly sounding like he's siding with ownership. There's a chance this shakes up his clubhouse.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, we hit the Locked On Dodgers listener line. 2 great voicemails, 2 big questions, and we're giving both callers their shine. Does trading Teoscar Hernandez actually make the Dodgers better? Are they getting faster, younger, and more athletic, or are they about to create another hole? And Dave Roberts does an interview with Kevin Hart and Keenan Thompson and says he's open to a salary cap. What does that mean for players? What does that mean for the Dodgers? And could it alienate guys inside his own clubhouse, Travis?
We're going to find out, right? That's a very interesting statement from the guy sitting in the dugout opening for sure. Today's episode of Locked On Dodgers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase.
You can catch more of Travis weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app with the Travis and DeMarco Show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play announcer for USC football and the Las Vegas Raiders. But when I'm not calling touchdowns, I'm right here doing what I love most, talking Dodger baseball. New around here? Welcome to the family. Glad that you found us. If you're an everydayer, you already know what's up. You're the heartbeat that keeps Locked On Dodgers going. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or another podcast platform, please leave us a 5-star review. All right, let's jump in. Salary cap shocker. Roberts is on board? Dave Roberts went on Amazon's Good Sports with Kevin Hart and Keenan Thompson and said something that made eyebrows across baseball go straight up when asked by Thompson, should baseball have a salary cap? Here's what Doc had to say.
You know what? I'm all right with that. I think the NBA's done a nice job of kind of revenue sharing with the players and the owners. But if you're going to kind of suppress spending at the top, I think that you got to raise the floor to make those bottom feeders spend money too.
All right, hold on. Dave Roberts, the leader of the franchise that has outspent every team in the sport, manager of a payroll that hit $415 million in competitive balance tax last year, the same organization that spent over $1 billion, almost $1.5 billion the offseason before that. That is a guy that's saying, yeah, cap us as long as the cheap teams have to spend too. I don't know, Travis.
Yeah, that's not how I'm hearing it, right? What I'm hearing is if those guys, the word bottom feeder, he kind of tipped his hand a little bit, right? In other words, this is a ridiculous notion because unless the bottom feeders, to use his words, start to spend money, we're not going to cap it at the top. He knows that there's not going to be a bottom feeder floor. So it's one of those things like, sure, I'll jump off the Grand Canyon, but you go first. It's one of those. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, where he can look at management and be able to say, "Look, I'm trying to advocate for your guys' side. I said that as long as we get the floor, but he knows the floor is not coming up, so he can say to the players, guys, I'm on your side. I'm a former player too. I get it, right? I think he's trying to have it a little bit both ways, right there. Look, I guess at the end of the day, at this point in his career, he's more on the management side than he is on the player side. But Dave Roberts came through the player ranks. Dave Roberts was a longtime player in the major leagues. I think he knows what the union is all about. I think he knows how steadfast they are in their refusal to consider a salary cap. Look, it may come, but it's only going to come after a long and brutal fight. It will only come after we miss games. So I'm hoping that this is much more posturing than any sort of indication that the Dodgers on one side, because if the guys on the Dodgers side of this decide that they want to put in some sort of salary structure that includes a cap, buckle up for a long time without baseball, because that would basically be the end of the ownership being a little bit divided on how they want to go about doing this.
If I'm a current player, though, Travis, or a free agent looking at the Dodgers, I'm thinking, wait, you're okay with the league limiting my earning potential? That's the thing that kind of gets me. And I know that Dave Roberts, he is the manager and he is paid by the ownership group, by the front office, and he has to save face instead of being like, no, let's do this. And there's going to be someday that I don't know if Roberts will be Tommy Lasorda, like you said in the podcast this week, or if he's a guy that someday gets an opportunity with another team that comes offering him double of what he's making with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers aren't willing to do that. And maybe over there, he won't be willing to do that. But Robert's logic right here is simple because he compared it to the NBA, where they do have a cap, a floor, revenue sharing, where everyone spends and there's competitive balance. And 1 year you see a team like OKC from a small market go end up winning the NBA championship in a final against another small market team. But baseball is different. There is no NBA-style supermax. There is no league-wide equal revenue pool with the way that it is in the NBA. And the Dodgers are an exception. They're not the rule. They benefited from the open checkbook. Ohtani, Yamamoto, luxury tax bill. It doesn't matter how much we got to pay there. It's sometimes bigger than the payroll from other teams, and they're going to break that number again. So when the face of that spending says, I'm fine with the cap, it lands differently for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think he's the face of it. He's not the owner of the team. You know, he's somewhere in between the middle of these two entities, right? He's no longer a player, but he's not an owner, right? He's somewhere in the middle of this. Now, maybe he's getting his talking points from ownership. That's certainly possible. But I think this is much more of a way to kind of be in a little bit of both camps. I don't think that this is something that makes me go, ooh, because I think that, look, there's going to be an ugly fight and it's going to come up really, really quickly. And it's going to probably cost us an opportunity to win some games. If Mark Walter said something like this, you know, I think that the Steinbrenners and what they said, a week or two or so ago, that's far more interesting to me than a manager saying it. I know that he's the manager of the team that spends all the money, but it's not his decision to make, right? He can put his hat in the ring. He can make a comment like this, but he's not an owner, right? He can't really make these things happen. Now, does he know something? Maybe. Is he trying to kind of just open up the negotiation to the player? So, well, even this guy's on there? Maybe, but a manager, in my estimation, really can't swing this the way that players are certainly going to be on one side of this. Ownership's going to be on another. But I say this on my Rams pod a lot, that I go much more by what people do than by what they say. And what the Dodgers have done is spend money at a rate that is basically second to maybe only the New York Mets. And I don't think they're going to stop spending money. I don't think this means that the Dodgers need to rein themselves in. A lot of times these caps and these guardrails are because owners are bad at what they do and they want some sort of self-destruct device put in there to prevent themselves from blowing up their own teams. The Dodgers haven't done that. They don't need help from spending their money. They know how to do it correctly. I don't think they're ever going to stop until there is some sort of rule, if there ever is some sort of rule. But it was interesting that he at least opened the door, however slightly he may have done it.
Yeah, because in the past, managers have been asked about it and they just deflect the question with a blank statement or a next question. Well, that's for ownership. That's for the front office. And look, I don't think Roberts is intentionally throwing players under the bus. I think he's just doing something where it's like trying to look like a reasonable adult ahead of a labor war in 2026, making sure that small market teams can't tank and pocket revenue sharing checks. What I'm worried about here, Travis, is that we've been involved in professional sports for a long time, and we've known owners, we've known front offices, managers, players. Tell me how many players have a direct line with ownership groups in every professional team. It's a handful of them. It's the top stars. It's the moneymakers. It's not a lot of them. So that's what worries me, where you have with the players on the 40-man roster, on those, you got Shohei, you got Freddie, you got Mookie, and maybe one or two more that have a direct line with Mark Walter and his crew. Everybody else, they're not going to go and ask those guys questions. They're going to go with Dave and be like, Dave, you really think that we should do this?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. He's not the gatekeeper, right? Like you said, they don't get a chance to talk to Mark Walter, or at least nothing about this. They have union reps, they have their representatives that are going to go do this. The thing that's so scary about this is I don't think that there's a ton of dialogue between the two sides. I think that we've already kind of gotten into this impasse where both sides are setting up their cases for the public rather than setting up their cases to actually try to meet somewhere in the middle. It's coming, and I think it's, we haven't had a labor stoppage since 1994, which we saw was so disastrous for what we had in the team, and they missed the World Series and everything else. I think that it's very likely we miss some more, which is a real drag because baseball is as healthy as it's been in a very long time. The owners can do this all they want. Ratings are up, revenues are up, ticket sales are up, like almost across the board. So it's a very healthy time to be in baseball. And I hope that is what ultimately leads people to decide, let's not stop playing. We finally have people's attention again. Let's keep this thing rolling. And the Dodgers being on top has certainly benefited the rest of the league as well.
Yeah, and look, will it alienate players? Maybe not today, but when the negotiations heat up, these words could be remembered. And even Roberts, let's remember, he joked after the Dodgers won the National League. It's like, hey, they're saying we're ruining baseball. Let's go ruining baseball. Let's go ruin baseball for real. Well, that's not a joke anymore. That's going to be a talking point where it's like, how do you flip-flop from one to the other? But then he can go out there and just say, oh, I was just joking right there with Kevin Hart and Keenan Thompson.
Yeah, I don't. Again, he's not the one that makes the call. He can say almost whatever he wants. And had he said, had he gone on that podcast and say, it'll be a cold day in hell when there's a salary cap in Major League Baseball, I would have the same reaction. It's not his decision to make. He's in neither of these camps, really. He's just a famous person that happens to be the manager of the most expensive and the best team. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have opinions on these things and that he's not highly informed on these things, but I don't think that Mark Walter is pulling in Dave Roberts to talk about the salary structure of Major League Baseball. And I don't think that the Players Union is pulling in Dave Roberts to talk about the salary structure of Major League Baseball. He's in the middle and in neither place.
It's like, hey, here you go. You're already one of the best paid managers in baseball.
Right.
You're paid to manage, not to take care of this other stuff.
Job. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully in a year, we're not talking about, oh my God.
Amen.
But there's a good chance it will be the case. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, would the Dodgers be better if they trade Teoscar Hernandez? The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Alerts for teams and matches make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So you want to check out Team USA, Argentina, Brazil, England, France, etc., etc., etc. It's easy. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network. Check out our YouTube channel where you can subscribe for free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and more. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Teo out? Smart move or huge mistake? Ken Rosenthal dropped a nugget in his latest column over at The Athletic, saying that Teoscar Hernandez is popping up in trade talks. The Dodgers don't think a move is likely, but it might be logical. Why? 2 reasons. Defense. He crushed 8 postseason homers the last 2 years. Yes, that's awesome. But defensively, 33rd out of 36 right fielders and outs above average with a -9. One of the biggest reasons LA ranked 18th in league defensively. That matters when you're trying to win October. And then plus the fit and age. Last year, the Dodgers had the oldest position player group in Major League Baseball. And now they might be trying to stay fresh, athletic, and hungry. And trading Hernández gives you options like moving Andy Pages to right field, then adding a center fielder through free agency and freeing up left field for a bat as well.
Yeah, look, I don't think he'll move, but if he did, I wouldn't be shocked. I think this is one of these things that, let's go back to last offseason when Teo was was available, right? He was a free agent. Ultimately, he re-signs with the Dodgers for the 3-year deal. There wasn't the Dodgers basically said, we'll wait. We'll see what else is out there. Let go ahead and see and shop around. I don't know what the market was for him exactly. So I think that's at least in part why he ended up back in LA. I think the Dodgers did move a little bit to give him maybe that extra year. That's not typically what they do. We've talked a lot about that on Locked On Dodgers. Our everydayers will certainly remember that. Look, Teo's awesome. Teo brings an incredibly positive energy to his team. He's been a great Dodger. He's won 2 titles in LA. He's incredibly popular with the fans. We talked about this with Miguel Rojas yesterday. He's one of these guys that can seamlessly move between groups in a major league clubhouse, which is a big deal to be able to go, to the Latino players, to the American players, to the Asian players, and just kind of mix everybody together. He's very good at that. That being said, he's getting older, and just the eye test alone, Harry, watching him last year, you're like, yeah, that's not the same guy from a year ago. Now, maybe there was a nagging injury, or maybe it's just the natural progression of an athlete getting older and slowing down a little bit. If he moved, okay. I would hate to see him go because he's been a big part of what they're doing, but they have to get younger. They have to get more athletic. And Teo, unfortunately for him, is one of the few guys on that team that does one thing. Right. He does what he can play either outfield corner position, not very well, and he can hit. But that's about it. Right. Like, he's not one of these Tommy Edman guys. He's not even a Max Muncy who you can play at 3 different infield positions. He's not Max Muncy where he's going to hit, his 35 home runs or whatever it is. He's kind of locked into what he does. And the Dodgers like positionality, optionality, however they want to describe it. And Teo kind of locks into one particular skill set.
Yeah, Teo hits home runs and strikes out.
Yep, and doesn't run well, and doesn't play the outfield well. He's kind of locked in.
We've been hosting a daily Dodgers podcast since July, and you were on board since late June. And we spoke about Dodgers games back and forth. And how many times, Travis, were we talking about, Teo's defense on right field cost the team a run here because he didn't approach the ball the right way, or he didn't have the correct read going to the ball, or the effort was, instead of waiting for the ball to bounce, catch it, and leave the runner at just one base, he tried to make a jump, and then that ball went all the way to the wall, and the Dodgers surrendered a run or two because of that. It was a thing day after day. And look, I'm not being a guy that's like right now just bashing Teo. No. I'm just putting that out there because I'm a huge fan of Teoscar Hernandez. I really have enjoyed his time with the Dodgers, and I was there at Dodger Stadium in Game 2 of the World Series where he hit the back-to-back home runs with Freddie Freeman. It was a huge moment because I told the people right below me, they came back from either buying something or the bathroom break, and I was like, great, you're back in time for the Teoscar Hernandez home run. And 2 pitches later, he hits a home run, and we were like, I told you he was going to hit a home run. It's a core memory for me. But overall, he's been a great signing for this team that maybe other teams didn't appreciate. And he came over on a prove-it deal. He proved it, and he got his big, 3 years, $66 million contract. He deserved it. Now the thing is, okay, do we keep him or do we see him go on another team through a trade? And Ken Rosenthal, one of the most plugged in insiders in the sport, he brought it up in his column in The Athletic as like, hey, the Dodgers have been talking about a trade with him. They've been asked and they've been going over there. So it's something that it's a possibility.
I think you put your finger on something really important, that the Dodgers did it again with Teoscar Hernandez, that thing where anybody could have had this player a couple of years ago. He was available to anybody that wanted to sign him, And the Dodgers said, yeah, we'll do that. And they got him at a pretty reasonable price, and he outperformed the deal by a mile. They brought him back, and they won the World Series twice in 2 years with this guy. This is another example of them just kind of saying, yep, we'll take that guy. However good he is, and I'm not saying he was a good player. Like, we've seen him have success in other places too, but whatever his success rate is, I think it's going to go up here, and they nailed it again with him. So you said it too. Incredibly popular player, but this is what makes the Dodgers the Dodgers. They will make a hard decision when they have to make a hard decision. I think they'd rather be a little early than a little late, and they've already erred a little bit on the late side over the last year or two, which is something they did. Think about Tanner Scott. Think about some of these other guys. Will Smith got a long-term deal. Mookie, Freddie, long-term deals. Yamamoto, long-term deal. Shohei Ohtani, long-term deal. That's 6-7 guys right there that are going to age with your team, that are going to go through that. And so to add another guy to that list when you don't have to do it, or maybe to be able to get off of a guy like that when you can, maybe something they're interested in.
Our audience under 12 years old got excited when you said 6-7.
I know.
Right there,
I still don't even know when I say it, Harry. I still catch myself, and when I saw your hands go, I'm like, I guess I did say it. Yeah. No,
I still don't understand what it means, but I feel like it's cool within the younger crowd, so we'll take it. Talking about the contract, people see big numbers, but this isn't actually an anchor. It's 2 years left. 12 million in 2026, 14.5 million in 2027. Huge numbers for us, but when it comes to baseball, that's not that much compared to other contracts. There's deferred money involved. There's a team option buyout that gets complicated if he's hurt, but fortunately, Teo's been a guy that has been pretty reliable and pretty available most of the time with the Dodgers in 24 and 25. It's not cheap, but it's not impossible. Now, why does the trade make sense? You want to improve a weakness, outfield defense. You want to get younger and more athletic, and you want to allow natural roster turnover, because we were talking about the prospect list for the Dodgers, the top 10, and there was a lot of outfielders out there. So
yeah, a ton of outfielders out there, and you got to do one of two things. You got to trade those guys for other things you may need, or you got to let them play. Those are because the older they get in the minor leagues, the less valuable they become. That you have to implement them one way or the other, by playing them or by deciding that you're going to flip them for other guys who are you going to play. That having a great farm system is an incredible advantage, but only to a point. And I think Teoscar is one of those guys that may be caught in the squeeze of the age gap. And because of the contract details that you mentioned, Harry, I think it's something that another team may be able to absorb. Like, this would never happen. But if all of a sudden they decide they want to do something with Mookie Betts, it's like, we can't take a guy making $35 million. It doesn't fit into our budget. A guy making 10, 12, that's something you can fit into your budget on most major league teams. So I think there may be an opportunity to move him to more teams than he might be if he were making, double what he's at right now.
Or you would have to be willing to pay a big chunk of his salary, even though you're sending him to another team. Now, why would it be a mistake, or why might it be a mistake? The Dodgers already need an outfielder. Teo is a right-handed power bat. Lose him, and you maybe add another hole, both to the outfield and to the lineup. So my read right here is the Dodgers listen. If a deal makes them better, they do it. If not, they keep Teo and the depth. It's easy. Don't overthink it. Next, on Locked On Dodgers. Sorry, go ahead, Travis.
No, that's exactly right. They listen, and if you find something you like, great, we'll do that. And if not, say no, we'll roll with Teo in right or left field, and I think you're fine either way.
Exactly. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we close today's show with your calls, your questions via the Locked On Dodgers listener line.
NFL Sundays, they move fast. We're talking one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. Did you watch that game last night between the Lions and the Cowboys? It felt like the game changed 40 times in 5 seconds. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so incredibly exciting. You're not just watching the game happening, you're reacting to it in real time, because with FanDuel, you can place bets on the action as it unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every single highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift, right? That receiver gets hot. A defense tightens up. The momentum flips after a turnover. We saw all of that last night. And FanDuel, you can jump right into the moment. Player props updated as guys heat up. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly so you can bet the next touchdown score, the drive, results, totals, and more. Keeps you locked into every single snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Listener line, you call, we react. If you want to be on the show, hit us up. 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. If you're watching us on YouTube or any other platforms, it's scrolling throughout the show below us. Leave us your voicemails or text with your name, where you're calling from, plus your hot take, question, or thoughts. And you might end up featured in our show like today, where we got two great ones. And leading off, Tony from Los Feliz, our guy who talks about the bullpen. With the winter meetings kicking off Sunday in Orlando, things might kick off into a higher gear for the Dodgers to get some bullpen help. Let's listen to our guy, Tony, about it.
Hey, guys. Tony from Los Feliz calling in. Long time no call. I needed some decompression time after the incredible postseason. Just wanted to chime in on the reliever issue and the situation going on. One name that keeps popping up for me is Robert Suarez of the Padres. Granted, he's 35 years old. Some of his underlying numbers are not great. But I think if you put him back together with Tanner Scott, I don't know what their relationship was like, but then you suddenly have the Padres back into that bullpen from 2 years ago. Maybe it takes some pressure off Tanner Scott. The guy still has a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. He can still get swing and miss. And I do think that that might be a direction that they go, maybe 2 years perhaps. And also geographically, local, which makes a big difference, I think, with some of these signings. Also, don't be surprised if they take a little flyer or even at Kenley Jansen to bring him back and have him retire as a Dodger. We'll see. Take care, guys, and go Dodgers. Bye-bye.
We spoke about Kenley on the Thursday's show, so we'll leave it at that. But this is interesting. I actually hadn't thought about that angle of the story from 2024 when Tanner Scott and Robert Suarez shared a bullpen over in San Diego, where Suarez ended up having a total of 36 saves, and Tanner Scott came over on a trade, and he had 4 saves on that squad as well. So it could be where, it worked in San Diego, where Suarez was a closer, where Tanner Scott was more of a setup guy, and that could be the formula for the Dodgers if it ends up happening. Thank you right there to Tony for bringing that up.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. It's interesting, but I don't know if it's interesting for the reason that he suggested. I think it's interesting because Robert Suarez is really good. I think that's interesting because he's a good player, and I think adding good players is always a good idea. I don't know if this is like a wide receiver quarterback combo where you can kind of, see each other's moves and, hey, let's put those guys back together and maybe the magic will be rediscovered. Like, I get that they were teammates when they both played well, but I don't know how much one had to do with the other. I think we saw Tanner Scott pitch in the 9th inning and struggle. We saw him pitch in the 8th inning and struggle, the 7th inning and struggle. He just struggled. I don't know if there was another teammate there that could have really helped him with that. That being said, I'm sure that the Dodgers are considering all options when it comes to trying to unlock Tanner Scott and get him back on the beam because they're going to need him. I agree, Tony, that, the numbers for him, the underlying metrics, it's interesting. The underlying stuff for Scott was actually pretty good. Like his velocity, his spin, all the stuff that the Dodgers were so attracted to begin with, they didn't go away. It was his command, his ability to put guys away that seemed to kind of disappear. So that's why I'm still optimistic on Tanner Scott coming back. I think that is something that can be fixed. But if Robert Suarez was in Dodger blue, I don't hate that at all. I like it just because he's a very good player.
No doubt about it. And we need somebody to be that back end guy in the bullpen. And if not the guy, at least an option in case Tanner Scott doesn't work. Shout out to Tony. It was great hearing from you again. Hopefully we got more calls from you in the future. Caller 2, Bruce from Kansas, who asked about the Dodgers-Lakers ownership overlap and also the front office now being over there with the Lake Show.
I have a question about with the Dodgers working for the Lakers, how is that going to cut into the money for purchasing more Dodger players? Thank you.
Money wise, I'm pretty sure no, it doesn't hurt anything when it comes to the Dodgers, especially right now where you got the NBA with the salary cap, the baseball without a salary cap, plus Guggenheim. They pretty much have an open checkbook and an unlimited resources when it comes to money, Travis, to be able to spend right there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Number one, visualize it like this, Bruce. The Dodger money pool is the Pacific Ocean, and they're paying for the Dodgers with ladles full of water, right? It's just, they're fine. They're not about to run out of money. Both of these things support themselves, the Dodgers and the Lakers as well. The Lakers thing, you can only spend so much. The Dodgers, at least at this point, you can kind of have a limitless budget if you want. And I think a big part of why Shohei Ohtani is here is that he and the team, Mark Walter, Andrew Freeman, they made an agreement. If I'm going to defer all this money, if I'm going to come here, you better go spend it. You better go spend it on players. You better go do these things right now. I think that's part of why Yamamoto came over right away, why they continue to do all the things they've done with Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow and everything else. They are not going to stop. And I really do think this is the number one reason that I am as bullish on the Dodgers moving forward as I have been in the last few years. They are relentlessly aggressive when it comes to pursuing players and acquiring players and paying players. They're not going to stop. This isn't a team. And I know I get a lot of criticism or support for banging on the Angels the way that I do. But the Angels the Angels spend money, by the way, but they go right up to the line and then they stop. That they never go over the line. The Dodgers will go over the line if they think it makes sense to go over the line. They really don't stop on player acquisition. And I don't think that the Laker thing has anything to do with it. The Lakers can support the Lakers. The Dodgers can support the Dodgers. And the money hose that they've turned on the baseball side in Japan is not going to stop anytime soon. They could run their entire operation with what they're pulling out of Japan practically. And you got to think of, I think it's good news. Like if you think of a pyramid, that the guy at the very top is the same guy, but on that next brick down, it goes separate ways. And it's just the ideas that I think run through both, not the money.
Yeah, and you got Friedman right there now also being somebody that can sound off his ideas with Rob Pelinka. You got Sahidi, who seems to be a guy that is a little bit more involved with Mark Walter as his right-hand man when it comes to overlooking also the Lakers and the Sparks to make sure that they are running the right way. So I feel it's more about that than about the money. The money, it's unlimited right now for the boys in blue. You said that they see that line and they go over it. I say they go over it and then they create another line and then they go over it as well and then be like, okay, let's see if we can outdo ourselves and make this machine keep moving. Thank you so much to Bruce from Kansas, first time listener. So here we go. I'm assuming he's from Kansas. That's the area code where his phone number came through from. He didn't leave where he was calling from. So thank you, Tony. Thank you, Bruce. If you want to hit us up, 279-3-LOCKED, 279-356-2533, and you might be featured here on Locked on Dodgers. All right, that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for making Locked on Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked on MLB Game Night be your second listen. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked on MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We're back in action on Monday as the Major League Baseball winter meetings will be underway and the Dodgers will have the opportunity to make some moves ahead of the 2026 season. Plus, Fernando Valenzuela will he be a Hall of Famer or not? Travis, we're all keeping all our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm going to hit my knees the next couple of nights and send one up and hope that Fernando gets in because he certainly deserves to get in. We're all pulling for him.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully it happens. I just hate that we had to wait until he's not with us for him to get this potential honor, which I feel that it might be a slam dunk for the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame. All right. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.